Welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast, where tax sale investing is made easy. My name is Casey Denman. I'm a tax sale veteran. I'm the leading tax sale expert. I'm the author of the Tax Sale Playbook, founder of the Tax Sale Academy, and I'm your host right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast episode. As a reminder, this podcast is available on a number of different channels, including Spotify Video, YouTube, and wherever podcasts can be found. So make sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting or video platform. This podcast is brought to you by the Tax Sale Academy. Make sure you check out taxsaleacademy.com to learn more about investing in tax defaulted real estate. All right, today's episode is for all of you brand new tax sale investors who are just plain stuck. Let's say that you saw this business model somewhere or you learned about it somewhere. You were all excited and you went to get started. And then bam, it's like running into a brick wall. You're stuck. You don't know what to do next. You've ran into what seems like roadblock after roadblock. What now? Hopefully, this podcast episode will provide a few suggestions to help you keep moving forward. The biggest issue that I see most new investors have is that they don't fully understand this business. They start off with being overly optimistic. They're going to make $1 million in the first week. But the problem is, once reality sets in, they realize it's a little bit more difficult than they first imagined. This is a large part of the reason that I created the Tax Sale Academy, why I wrote my book, why I shoot these videos, record these podcasts. Many new investors discover this business and think it's as simple as buying tax defaulted real estate for cheap and selling it for more money. Sure, that is it on the outside, and that's likely what draws most people to this business. That's what drew me to this business initially. But as you start diving in, you're going to discover there's much more to it than that in order to be successful. The confusion behind research, title issues, the variety of laws, the Greek tax sale list that you must decipher, the fear of competition, these things and countless others cause new investors to become overwhelmed and is often the root cause of them becoming stuck. My suggestion is to slow down. Perhaps you're not truly stuck, but you're rushing the learning process. You're rushing the expectation for results. Far too many people want to get into this business to make an income comparable to something that most doctors and attorneys take 7 or 8 years of college for. Yet these same folks want to do it in a few days, or maybe a week or two if they're the real, in quote, patient ones. If you spent 7 or 8 years studying the tax sale business, I can guarantee you're going to have a good grasp on it, and you're going to be incredibly successful as a tax sale investor. But thankfully, you don't have to wait that long. You can actually learn this business very, very quickly relative to everything else that's out there. So don't get frustrated when something does not click for you within a day or two. Slow down, give it time to process, and give yourself time to actually dig in. Stop trying to rush the process and then blame your difficulties on being stuck. Understand, it does take time. I did a podcast episode a couple of weeks ago about diving headfirst into the most difficult things for you. When you're learning the tax sale business, there are going to be some things that just make sense immediately. Many of these things will make you think, well, yeah, of course, that's obvious. But guess what? There are other things that don't make any sense at all to you. And these things are different from one person to the next person. Something difficult for you to understand might be incredibly easy for somebody else to understand, or vice versa. In the Tax Sale Academy, we literally start with the question of what is real estate? The answer might surprise you, but we break it down to the basics. If you're stuck on something, I highly suggest that you go all in on that topic before attempting to move forward. If you don't understand something that you need to understand, by all means, don't just skip over it. Understanding 50% of this business is not the correct approach. That is the best way to overlook something that leads to a very expensive issue down the road. So instead, go all in on whatever topic it is that you're struggling with. If it's valuations, for example, spend a solid week learning just about how to value real estate, learning just about comparative market analysis, sales approaches, all that kind of stuff. Maybe take a class, watch a bunch of videos, do whatever it is that you need to fully understand it. Dive in on your weaknesses, because that's going to help you substantially as you continue to grow your foundation of knowledge required to be successful in this business. The next sticking point I see is when people understand the book stuff, they study it nonstop. And they might even have a very, very solid grasp of everything that they learned from a book or from a video. But something is still missing. This is oftentimes because they have not seen it in action. I can sit here and explain to you how to do something, but for many people, it is not going to truly click until they actually see it done or they do it themselves. I always suggest to every single new tax sale investor that they attend at least one auction prior to going with the intention of buying anything. In other words, go there just to spectate. Go there, sit down, watch what's going on, talk to everybody around you. Get your tax sale list printed out, walk into that auction, socialize with any other investors there, since that's a great way to learn as well, and just take it all in. It took me many auctions before I finally had the confidence that I needed to really understand what is going on. The auction process itself will really help you put all the pieces together when it comes to combining the book knowledge, the video knowledge, the training knowledge into the real world. And if you're still hesitant after that, it's time to practice. Start from square one as an investor and use monopoly money. In the stock market, they call it paper trading. I simply refer to it as practice. Find an upcoming auction. You're going to do kind of the same thing as you were spectating, but this time you're going to print out your auction list. You're going to research every single property, and research is the most important part of this business. So researching properties you are not going to buy will still serve to enhance your research skills. I promise you it's not a waste of time, but research those properties like you mean it. If you need to call the county to verify something, then call the county. Do not be lazy about it. Go ahead, determine the valuations, determine your max bid amounts, prepare your auction bid sheet, register for that auction, attend the auction, whether it's online or in person being the preference here, but go to that auction. Make notes of the winning bids. What sold higher than you thought it should have? What sold lower than you thought it would have? Analyze your bids and take it all in. If you need to make adjustments on what you do and don't understand as far as preparing for this auction, now is a fantastic time to do it before you spend any money. Analyze those auction results. Analyze what happened at that auction. Use that practice to perfect your approach. Another suggestion I have that I give everybody is to review the previous auction results in the area or areas that you're interested in investing in. Take a look at those auction results and see what properties sold for. Then determine what the values of those properties were to see if you have realistic expectations for your investments in that area. If there aren't any deals there, then consider either adjusting your objectives, maybe you're expecting too much, or take a look into another area. After that, it's simply a matter of pulling the trigger when the right opportunity comes along. And this is another aspect where people feel that they're getting stuck or they're struggling. If you don't buy a property in your first week, you are not struggling. If you don't buy a property in your first month, your first 3 months, your first 6 months, you're still not struggling. Everybody wants instant gratification. They want instant rewards of whatever time they invested learning this business. Sometimes it does not work like that. Now, I have had Academy members who purchased their first property within a week. That's fantastic. But one of my most successful Academy members took over a year before they finally were able to pull the trigger. Something like 13 months. And that's okay. There should not be an artificial timeline. I've said this many times, but if you need to make money this week or next week, do not get into the tax sale business. Instead, go out and get a job and come back when you have more patience and more time. Patience goes a long, long way in this business, and it is so important to understand the difference between hitting a sticking point and just needing to be a little bit more patient. Oftentimes, you just need to have patience. Listen, every single person watching this video or listening to this podcast has the ability to succeed in this business. The ones that actually do, though, are the ones who continue to push forward. There are going to be times in this business and in every business where you've come to hurdles, barriers, sticking points. There's going to be times where you feel as if you are struggling, and that is okay. That's what happens. That's when you're able to increase your knowledge base even more. That's when you're going to be able to build off the experiences that you are making right now. And that's when your business truly gains its strength and momentum moving forward. So regroup, use these suggestions, and continue pushing forward. I truly hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Tax Sell Podcast. If you do, please do me a huge favor and leave a positive review on whatever podcasting or video platform you're listening to us on today. This podcast is completely free. I don't charge a listening or membership fee or anything like that, but your reviews really do help us out, and they might even serve to pay it forward to somebody else who learns about this incredible business simply because you took the time to tap a 5-star review or to leave positive feedback. And as always, if we can be of any additional help, make sure you check out our website at taxsellacademy.com. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sell Podcast. Bye-bye.